Hello, I'm Rob Barton. I am the director for the Barton Music School. You can find us on the internet at learnchops.com. We do lessons live here in the studio and in our other studios with other teachers. And we also have a program where we do live webcam lessons. Actually, we do a lot of webcam lessons. People who want to study with our instructors, or they live just too far away and they can't find an instructor in their area, or they can't find an instructor who teaches what they want to learn. Now, I teach a lot of instruments, but guitar is my specialty. Today I would like to give you a quick lesson on guitar arpeggios, or specifically one arpeggio. We learn a lot of arpeggios. You can look at any guitar magazine that comes out this month, and they're going to have an article somewhere about arpeggios. They're going to have someone who plays arpeggios. They're probably going to show you a lot of the arpeggios that the person plays. They may not explain much about how he or she plays the arpeggio, or even more importantly, how he or she uses the arpeggio, knows when to use it, how to use it. So what happens is a lot of players end up learning quite a few arpeggios, but they don't know where to put them. They're not really sure what to do with them. And because of that, the arpeggio that they can play becomes a trick, but it's not really a skill. Well, today I'm going to just teach you one arpeggio, but I want to teach you where you can use that arpeggio and how you can use that same movement, that same technique in different keys. So we're going to start with a simple arpeggio. It's an F form arpeggio, and it is able to be moved, used anywhere, used in any key, but you will keep the same shape. Many people understand that with guitar we often play certain shapes. So we have, say, pentatonic pattern 1 is a scale that we have that we all learn, and then we can move it to different places, keep the same movement on the guitar, and we've changed key. Now that pentatonic pattern 1 is also known as pentatonic minor, and it is the most commonly used guitar scale. Matter of fact, it may be the most commonly used scale in the world, period, because there are just so many guitarists. But it is the scale that most guitarists learn to solo with. When they're first learning their first solos, that's the scale they use. That's what I teach my students, is how to start with that, and then we just build from there. But anyway, as I was saying, when I work with my students, I like to teach them where these arpeggios go. So let's first talk about what an arpeggio is. We know what a chord is. I can play this. It's an F minor chord. It means that I'm playing a set of notes together. They sound good together, and they're a chord. Now, if I were to just take those same notes, play them one at a time, that would be an arpeggio. Some people will call it a broken chord. It's not really broken, it's just being played in a broken manner. I will move my pick much the same way I strum. When I strum, I move my pick in one fluid motion. Now with the arpeggio, I'm going to move my pick still in one fluid motion, okay? But I'm going to slow it down slightly, make the notes come one at a time, and then I switch direction and I move it back the other way, so that I end up with the arpeggio being played one note at a time, but basically the same motion with the right hand I would be strumming with. Now a little trick for that is when you strum or you do a sweep, you're going to switch direction and come back a lot of times. If you look closely, you'll see that my right hand is moving in a slight circle. It's like this, only it's very tiny. By having that slight circle, it gives me a fluid movement downward and then back upward. So I'm playing through the notes in one direction and back through the notes in the other direction. So let's talk about where I'm playing this. The reason it's called an F form is it is an F chord, or it's in the F chord family when I play it in first or open position. So when I play it in first position, it's an F. So the F minor, which you may or may not already know, played there in first position, that's the chord that we're basing this off of. It gives it its name, but it doesn't mean that anywhere it's played, it's an F minor. It just means that that's the shape we're going to use. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my ring finger, I am in the 3rd fret on string 4, counting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I said bottom. A lot of you guitar players know that that is technically our top string. It's called the top string because it sounds the highest. But some people here never had lessons before, so I'm just trying to make sure everyone's clear on where I am. So I am in the 3rd fret. These little metal things are the frets. So when I say I'm in the 3rd fret, it means my finger is right behind it. My ring finger is there, and that's the first note I play. My index finger is in the 1st fret on string 3. It's playing a G sharp. That's my next note. Then I let my finger rock down to the B string where I'm going to play a C, that's string 2, and then goes to string 1 where I'm playing an F. So once I do that, my pick just rolls around, switches direction. I play that F again. I come back up and I play the C. I come back up to the G, and I come right back up to the F on the D string. So what happens is I play those notes individually. Now, when I play it in that position, it's an F. Now, if I were to move it up 1 fret, meaning my ring finger is now in the 4th fret, and my index finger is in the 2nd fret, when I play that, it becomes an F sharp arpeggio. If I move it so that my ring finger is in the 5th fret, but my index finger is in the 3rd fret, then it becomes a G arpeggio. The name is really going to fall wherever my index finger is. Whatever note I have on the E strings, either E string, they're going to have the same notes. Whatever note that is, that's the note that this arpeggio has as a name. So if I move it to the 5th fret, it becomes an A minor arpeggio, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my ring finger in the 7th fret, but my index finger is in the 5th fret, and when I play that arpeggio, it's now an A minor, and that's the first key. We're going to work with it a little bit today. If you listen closely, you may recognize that as the arpeggio that starts Stairway to Heaven. As a matter of fact, Stairway to Heaven is played as a series of arpeggios, or based on a series of arpeggios following a very specific chord progression. If you learn these arpeggios, you learn that chord progression, it makes it a much easier song to play because you know where it's going next, you understand what it's doing. So when we play that, give it a try, just play through those notes one at a time, make that little circle with your fingers, kind of an egg shape, with your pick as you strum through it, or sweep through it. Don't worry about how fast you go, it's more important that you get the notes clearly. Now, if I were playing, say, an A minor chord over here, if I just hold an A minor chord in my machine here, now that's going to keep playing the A minor for me. I can come up here and I can play through that arpeggio. And it fits perfectly with the A minor chord because, as we already learned, it's the A minor chord's notes being played in progression. So every note in that arpeggio fits perfectly in that chord. Makes it sound nice. Now, we were going to work with A, and I want to just switch on a little bit different sound down here. Let's see what we've got. Okay, great. Now, when you're playing with more distortion, you start getting those characteristic licks that you get from metal players, neoclassical metal players. You start to get those characteristic licks out of these arpeggios. So let's talk about where that arpeggio is used. It's going to be used on the A chord. Now, in the key of A, we call that the 1 chord because, well, it's the chord that gives the key its name. So I'm just going to capture a quick, simple blues progression right here on the machine, and then I'm going to put that A minor arpeggio in where it fits. So let's say you're playing with power chords, and you have A, E, D, A. Now that's also called 1. This is the 5 chord, or the 5th chord in the key. That's the 4th chord in the key, and back to the 1 chord. So we can play arpeggios over these chords. Right now, what I want to do is I want to play that 1 chord, the A. I played the A arpeggio, it fit perfectly. So when the chord progression is coming back to that, I just drop that in. I can go fast with it, I can go slow with it, but it fits that spot. So anytime it's coming back to that chord, you can play it there. Now, At first, it may seem a little confusing because you're always trying to find where on the neck you are. With my students, I teach them a system for always knowing where they are and always knowing how to get to the next arpeggio without really having to think through all of the names. But again, if you're interested in that, go to learnchops.com, get in touch with me, sign up for regular lessons, and we'll teach you how to do all of that. But anyway, I want to move this to another key so that you have an idea of how this can work in other keys. So let's just take everything up 2 frets to the key of B. I want to do the same progression in the key of B, the same arpeggio, but it's now become a B arpeggio. So same progression, 1, 5, 4, 1. I'm just going to grab that in the key of B. There it goes. There's the 5. There's the 4, and here's 1. Now I played the same arpeggio, but that time I played it with my index finger in the 7th fret. It became a B minor. So what happens is we move it around, it becomes different chords or different arpeggios to go with the different chords that we're using. So basically the rule is this: whatever fret you would be using pattern 1 in to do the solo for that key is where you would use this arpeggio, or you would put your index finger for this arpeggio, and it will sound correct if you're playing it on the chord that gives the key its name. Now, I'm going to do a series of arpeggio lessons here on YouTube, so keep your eyes on this channel and you'll find more arpeggios, more about how to use them. If you really want to get into it, you want to get into really advanced guitar technique, by all means, visit us at learnchops.com, get signed up, and do some guitar lessons with me live on the webcam. Take it easy.